Now, day 3, we can go out and actually market that. And marketing at its basis is the activities that you do to get your product or service in front of your ideal customers. So how do I now get my offer? How do I get my software package in front of EROs? More specifically, as a service bureau, how do I get my offers in front of EROs who do bank product volume? That's what we break down in the marketing strategies. We do a couple quick kind of strategies. We have a lot more in our training, but this strategy that we go through in day 3 is really designed just to get some quick wins, right? There's a couple strategies that we break down, show people how to go out, make some posts, make some announcements, get some quick conversations happening, do a proper follow-up, move it to a sales call, have a good conversation, and then hopefully convert them into a sale as well. So that's day 2 on marketing. Welcome to the Service Bureau Accelerator podcast, where we help tax professionals start and scale a successful service bureau.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Service Bureau Accelerator podcast. I am here with Ross. Tia is not able to join us today, but we wanted to get some more stuff out to you guys. So today, what we're going to talk about is how to launch your Service Bureau in 7 days. So we did something new this year with our group. Anybody who's in the Service Bureau Accelerator has access to this, and all the new members that are joining every day, this is the core process they go through. So Ross, if you want to explain how we got to what we are calling the 7-day launch that's unique to Service Bureau Accelerator. Go ahead.
For sure. So this came out of a place, like one thing that we do in our business, and for any of you guys, if you have a service bureau, you're looking at starting a service bureau, one thing that people, I don't know if it's necessarily a misconception, but a lot of times people look at, okay, I create my program, I build out my courses, whatever, and I'm done. And the way that we look at it is there's always room to improve, right? We always want to constantly be like innovating, improving the program, doing more training, providing better resources and strategies for our members to help them succeed more, right? Because as a service bureau, if your EROs grow, if they generate more volume, you win as well. So that's a really unique and cool thing about this business model is it's always a win scenario, right? If your members win, they're increasing their volume, increasing their bank product volume, you're winning as well because you're collecting more fees on that. We always look at it as like, how can we improve the program? And the way that we had a lot of our training, our program structured in the past was we had these paths where it's, okay, I want to do like software sales, or I want to do an academy, or I want to do a prepare development program. And then once you select the path, you'd have about 6 or 7 modules that you would go through, starting with like goal setting, then creating offers, then marketing and sales. But there was so much information there, and it's all really good stuff. But there was almost like too much information. There was so many new things, and like how to create a sales presentation. We go so deep into literally A to Z and all the minutiae in between on every topic between marketing and sales and everything. In addition to that, it was laid out in our training platform where it's progression unlocked. So they have to watch video 1 and complete it to then watch video 2. So for someone who would come in and was a little bit more advanced, hey, I've got most of my stuff set up, I just want to go and watch the module on how to launch paid ads so I can really crank up my volume. It was locked and they couldn't do it. And so one thing that we saw was because of that, for the amount of time that it would take for people to get through the training, some people just either fell off a little bit, or by the time they finished it, there was a little bit of overwhelm because they weren't taking action throughout it. And so what we decided, how can we take all this information and condense it down into a boot camp? It was initially cool. I think the initial label was like a 7-day boot camp or something. How do we break it down into 7 days where it's like each day we're going to work on a certain part of our business with actionable steps? And so what we then decided with, as we're brainstorming, laying this all out, is we broke it down into 7 fundamental days, or 7 days to build out the foundations. Day 1 is basically an overview and setting goals. Because if you don't have a goal in mind, you have no direction. Setting goals is very important. We do it every year in our business. Every February, March, we meet up and we reset our goals. Okay, what are we going to do this year? So that's the first thing. Day 2, we create offers. Basically, what are we going to go to the market? What are we selling? Day 3, marketing. Day 4, we talk about sales stuff. Day 5, we get into client onboarding. And then day 6 is fulfillment and retention. And day 7 is rinse and repeat. So it's basically like we're laying out all the steps that you need to have set up in your service bureau to launch the business. And then we're breaking each day into 3 lessons. Lesson number 1 is the strategy. So like, why is it important to always be marketing, right? Why is it important to have a really good sales process in your business? So we break down the strategy. Then the lesson 2 is how-tos, the tactics. This is how we put together a sales process. This is how we go and do marketing. And then the third lesson, and this is just to try to make our clients win as easy and as fast as possible, are basically like done for you templates that you can just take and go and use it and go to the next section. So we have onboarding forms created. There's like checkout pages and everything that we have all created for our members. some other tools as well that they can use. Lesson number 3 is here's the template so you can just move fast, go quick, and not get bottlenecked or held up in the minutia or overcomplicating it. So we want to just get our members to move really fast, go through it, and take massive action. And by the end of 7 days, literally have the entire framework of their service bureau business set up and launched.
I think another place that this model benefits, we've been doing this for a long time, and we see where the gaps were, where people struggled or where people stopped because it was, again, like you said, overwhelm. And we spoke about this in our meeting, but I think where this kind of helped the average client or the average member of Service Bureau Accelerator was in a short time being able to see the A to Z of the process, right? Because a lot of times if they're just trying to move on the marketing, they're mentally slowed down because they don't know what's going to happen after they sell somebody. What's next? What's after this?
Someone wants to buy. What do I do next?
Right. A lot of times it's like these roadblocks that are really not roadblocks, but they're just mental roadblocks. Like, oh, what happens this? So the way this is laid out now, if you go through and take action in every 7 days, like, oh, what's next? Right. Every single step, the next step is there. This is what's next, right? Okay. How do I do that when I get there? And a lot of it, especially when you get to the fulfillment and onboarding stuff, because they're building that out in that day. Now they don't have to worry about what happens if I sell somebody and I don't have this stuff ready. That's the mental barrier that I think this overcomes.
Yeah, exactly. Because we heard that so much on our coaching calls throughout the years where people are like, well, what's the next step? And for us, we've been doing this for years. So we're like, obviously it's this. Someone new coming in and not necessarily having operated this type of business where everything's virtual, everything's digital, and you have to onboard a client, you have to collect information, actually set them up in your software. There's that kind of, how do I do that? How do I collect it? Here's a form, right? So we give all of our members, here's an onboarding form, here's your bank enrollment form that as soon as someone buys, you can send it to them and they just fill it all out. You get a notification once it's done, and now you go set them up in the software. So we literally are just doing A to Z, see the big picture. And that is like exactly what you said, Baldeep. It's to give our members the confidence in knowing what the steps are. So now they don't have that barrier. But now they're not thinking about that. So now they can actually go out and take action. Because that would stop a lot of people from taking action from the fear of the unknown, being like, shit, if someone wants to buy, what do I, like, how do I even let them buy? How do I even set them up? Now you see the whole picture. And then that's where day 7 we talk about, where it's like, now you have the whole picture. Now let's basically improve on everything that we just did. Let's start working on better offers, working on doing more marketing. Let's improve our sales process. Let's streamline some onboarding stuff. Maybe we bring in a team member. And that's the steps. Like, we laid it out where this is all the things that you're going to be doing in your business as a service bureau. Now, once you've got it all set up, you're just going to improve on each area over time. And that's what business is, constantly refining, optimizing, improving conversions in marketing, having a better onboarding experience for your customers, making sure you're not hitting them over the head with crazy fees every year. You can retain them long term. That's all we know.
A whole other conversation.
Yeah. But for now, what we'll do is we want to dive in. So for those of you guys, if you're listening on Spotify or someone like that, if you head over to our YouTube channel for this episode, we're going to actually have a screen share up where we're actually going to show you behind the scenes. You guys can actually take a look at our training platform, and we're going to show you the 7-day launch. We're going to show you how it's laid out. We're not just going to play the videos, but we're just going to break down how each one of these days are laid out so you can really understand it. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll just dive in and break it down. So again, if you're on Spotify or you're just listening to us, if you head over to our YouTube channel, just go to YouTube, search Service Bureau Accelerator. You'll find our channel, and there's like playlists. There's the podcast.
Yeah,
so you can take a look at this episode.
Episode 18, I believe, something like that.
Yeah, perfect. So I've got my screen shared now. So in our program, we have our foundations, which is like the core foundations that we get everyone to go through first. And then once you've completed foundations, the 7-day launch program unlocks. So we're just going to break down of like high level overview of each day. So day number 1 starts with the overview of the 7-day launch and then goal setting. The overview it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just to make sure everyone understands what the framework is going to be. We have a little roadmap we give everyone as well, so they understand here's the 7 days that you're going to go through. And then we set some goals. And the reason why setting goals is so important is because it really gives you like an objective, a timeline, a clear goal in like the end in sight, right? There's an expression, you always start with the end in mind, right? What is the result that I want in business? What is the result that I want after going through this program? And then write it down, set that goal. I saw we actually had someone post in our Facebook group. They're like, I set my goal for the 7-day launch, excited. They had the workbook printed out. They had their calendar where they circled each day. They circled the 7 days, and then it was like launch was the last day. It gives you that structure to say, okay, this is what my goal is. This is what I need to have done by this date. So you can actually go out and execute it. Again, if you don't have a goal in mind, if you don't know what that final destination is, how are you ever going to get there? So setting goals is a very basic thing, it's very fundamental, but I think it's one of the most powerful things you can do in business. Something that we always do in our business. And when we set those goals, now we just reverse engineer, what do we have to do to hit that goal? And now business becomes a lot easier if you can set the goal and then ask the right questions. So that's day one, is just setting goals. We do a couple exercises as well. A lot of people who join our program, they want to get out of the tax game, right? They're like, I'm done with doing tax returns. I just want to sell software and sit back and enjoy the tax season for once. So we do that as well with setting the goals. How much money do you make in the tax season? Let's figure out what we need to do in our service bureau to replace that income and get out of the tax game year one. So a lot of stuff like that we break down. Anything you want to add on that, Baldeep, on the goal setting?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward on the goal setting.
Cool. So after day one, we then move into day two, and this is creating irresistible offers. We actually had a coaching call yesterday, and there was a couple good points. Someone brought up they had an issue about trying to sell people that are on different softwares, and they're asking for that software that they don't offer. And so they're like, how do I sell this person? And you had a really good input on that. I don't know if do you recall what that discussion was? If you want to share a little bit, we can leave the brands out of it, but just how you explained, this is why that conversation is coming up and this is how to get over it.
Yeah, I know it was a good comment that I made at the time. The challenge of recollection on that.
I remember what it is. I'll lead you into it. It was basically the value proposition, right?
Yeah, it was along the lines of, the reason why they're asking you like for this other software is because you didn't put enough value in your package besides just the software. So when we sell people that are coming from all the other softwares that we don't offer, and we go have a conversation about joining Service Bureau Accelerator, ultimately they have to select a software, right? But that conversation is much farther in the conversation. Our conversation is mainly around all the other stuff that we provide, or, hey, I had a question about this, or how does this work? Very rarely does the conversation navigate to the software until it has to. And then at that point, if you know the software landscape enough, then you could say, well, if you're coming from here based on this and this, then this is the best option for you. Cool. Done. And I think where people struggle is they think that, oh, I need to have every software under the sun to be able to make money, but you'll actually make less money doing that. And I think we talked about that in another episode.
Yeah, you slow yourself down. You add more players.
Yeah. And you're not going to get incentives on having every software. You're not going to have enough volume on any one software for it to even make sense. So when those types of things come up, I'm just like, look, I've had no problem. Our team has had no problem selling people from any other software to the ones that we offer. So why is this coming up? It's because you're not providing them any other reason to buy from you besides just the software option. And that's why you run into that bottleneck.
Yeah. And something I want to touch on real quick is a term like incentives, because I think probably a lot of people listening might not understand exactly what that means. Incentives is basically, if you guys look at the fees in the software, there's like bank fees, there's like the base software fees. There's extra money on that back end that you can get a chunk of if you are producing a large enough volume as a service bureau. You got to be able to negotiate for that, but there is extra money on the back end that you can get a piece of. But the challenge is that if you have to have high enough volume where you are doing thousands and thousands of products with that transmitter to be able to negotiate those types of deals. But the problem is that if you are trying to sell every software under the sun, you got 300 products over on here, you got 500 products on this one, 200 products on the other one, 300 on the fourth and fifth, and however many softwares you have, none of those transmitters, none of those software providers care about how much volume you do in total. They don't care, right? They don't care about that. You're only going to get those deals if you're doing all that volume under one. Now it's, I'm doing 3,000 products directly or 5,000 products with this one software. Now you're a bigger client. Now you're a bigger service bureau. Now you have some ability to negotiate some of those back end fees. And so anyways, that was a bit of a tangent, and the incentives, that is really where a lot of the back end money as well as a service bureau business. So just a little note on that. But coming back to the 7-day launch with creating offers, I'll give a quick example. If you guys are listening to this podcast, I'm sure you're probably in some tax groups, right? Go and look at, you probably see so many posts all the time of people selling their software, right? And I guarantee you're going to see the exact same shit basically and across all the different groups. And I don't mean this like to attack someone or saying they don't know what they're doing. It's just, this is what everyone does. And that's why everyone's copycatting each other, because they're like, oh, I see someone making a flyer about their software. It's the exact same bullet points. Oh, unlimited e-files, cloudless, paperless office, online, remote, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these bullet points that are the exact same as everyone else, because everyone's selling software. They're all only focused on software as the product. And then they may have their pricing on it. They may not have their pricing on it, but you're going to see the exact same thing. Everyone, 99% of service bureaus who are not in the Service Bureau Accelerator program, they're simply selling by just selling software and the tech support. That's it. What we teach here on day 2 is creating irresistible offers is how do you separate yourself from all of that noise? All these people posting the exact same flyers with the exact same bullet points, the exact same features. It's the same stuff. All the difference is like price point and brand, which no one really cares about. How do you separate yourself from all that noise? How do you create more value in your offer so that you tip the scales where the amount of value that you have to offer, training, resources, materials, coaching, whatever it is, strategy concepts, marketing, to help people actually grow their business. If you can put together a program that actually gives the client the ERO value, where you can help them grow their business, you can solve whatever problems they have. Now the conversation is less about what type of software is it? Does it have input mode or is it direct entry? What bank does it? It's no longer questions specifically about the software, because the focus is now on the amount of value that you're delivering to them. And it completely changes the conversation, and it completely changes your sales process for the better, because now everyone wants the stuff that you have, and the software is just a part of the package. It's not the main selling point. But so many people get held up as software being the main selling point that they struggle. And if you're only selling software, I'm looking for this type, so I'm not interested. And that's how you lose deals. But if you have so much other good stuff to offer them, in addition with the software, they're like, damn, I really want all this other stuff. So maybe it's not as bad as I thought to switch softwares. Maybe I'll do it because I want this other thing so much more. So that's how we win with creating irresistible offers. And that's what we break down in day 2. So moving forward into day 3, marketing mastery. This is all about now that you have an offer. And again, we have this in order because this is like the order that you're going to run your business. First, you got to set a goal. You got to start with the end in mind. Now you got to create an offer. What the heck am I selling? What exactly am I selling? What's included? We got to break that down. Now, day 3, we can go out and actually market that. And marketing at its basis is the activities that you do to get your product or service in front of your ideal customers. So how do I now get my offer? How do I get my software package in front of EROs? More specifically, as a service bureau, how do I get my offers in front of EROs who do bank product volume? That's what we break down in the marketing strategies. We do a couple quick kind of strategies. We have a lot more in our training, but this strategy that we go through in day 3 is really designed just to get some quick wins, right? There's a couple strategies that we break down, show people how to go out, make some posts, make some announcements, get some quick conversations happening, do a proper follow-up, move it to a sales call, have a good conversation, and then hopefully convert them into a sale as well. So that's day 3 on marketing. And then from there, we move into sales. Anything else you want to add on marketing, Baldy, on that? Or
That's a whole big...
We could do an episode on each one of these days as well at some point, because there's a whole bunch of information we can talk about. So from marketing, and now again, we've made our offer. We're putting it in front of the right people. Now we're getting some bites. People are like, hey, I'm interested in your thing. I'm interested in your program that you're putting together. How do we now actually do a sales call, right? How do we actually sell someone? What exactly is sales in its base? And so we start with fundamentals, or the foundation of sales, because I think a lot of people have a negative connotation with sales. They're like, oh, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson either. It's a learned skill. I will give it to some people. There are some people who are inherently just naturally good at sales. They're very outgoing. They're very clear communicators. But the majority of salespeople that I know learned it. It wasn't something that they were just inherently good at. They started and they sucked at sales at the beginning, but they learned it. And so it's a learned skill, and anyone can be good at sales. And the other thing that I always want to crush, just absolutely destroy it from people's mindset, and because this was mindset as well, is that, oh, sales is bad, right? People are, they're just like the used car salesman, right? Oh, you're just trying to get money out of my pocket. We actually had a guy on a webinar a while back because Baldy had so much energy. You sound like a used car salesman. And we just banned him from the webinar. Get out of here. We don't want to talk to you. But that's like a lot of people have that like negative association with sales, that it's bad, it's manipulative. And the way that we sell, sorry, go ahead.
The reality is, yes, you're trying to extract money out of their pocket. Right?
100%.
There's a way to, if you don't try and do that, then you're not going to be in business long.
Yeah.
But there's a way to do it. And the way we train on doing it and the way we do it is completely different than what most people picture in their head.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to keep elaborating.
Yeah. And so I actually train our sales team internally with Service Bureau Accelerator. And that's always the conversation. We are not trying to shove product down someone's throat. We are trying to make sure it's a good fit. There's a concept called a discovery call. And you can see, if you guys are watching the video, you can see lesson 3. We talk about the discovery call script and making the sale. A discovery is basically asking good questions. The way that we sell, it's about having a conversation. It's not about, hey, I don't care what the person's telling me, I'm going to shove my product down their throat until they buy it. No, that's complete opposite of how we sell. We sell by asking questions to the prospect. Tell me about your business. Where are you struggling at growing your business right now? What software are you currently coming from? What do those fees look like? How many prepares do you have in your office? How many locations do you have? Are you wanting to grow? Are you wanting to scale? We want to know as much information about the prospect as possible so that I can find out what they're telling me. Are they, based on what they're telling me, are they a good fit for my package? Are they a good fit for my software program? Are they a good fit for the Service Bureau Accelerator? That's how we have our conversations. That's how we do sales. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if the person's like, oh, I don't do any bank products, I hate them, I'm never going to use them, you're like, all right, cool. Have a great rest of your day. Like, based on our conversation, this program is not a good fit. Don't sell them. Get off the phone, because yeah, you may get a license fee, but like a license sale, and then $500. Look, at the end of the day, $500 is $500. If you want it, go ahead, sell them. But the business model in Service Bureau is to sell people who do bank products. And so for me, if I'm talking with someone and they don't do bank products, that's a disqualifier. I'm going to tell them, hey, you're not a good fit. But if they do bank products and maybe they're struggling to grow their business and they're looking for more marketing, they need help, I can then say, hey, look, with a part of our program, I'm going to show you how to be able to, market your tax office better so you can acquire more customers. I'm going to show you how to go and recruit a bunch of preparers as well, so you can get 20, 30, 50 preparers working under you this upcoming season. That'll boost your numbers as well. Plus, I'm going to set you up on the software package, and you get all this stuff basically for less than what you're already paying for your software alone. Now it's, holy shit, this is exactly like, this is going to solve my problems, right? This is going to help me grow my business, which is what I want to do. And I'm getting software bundled in with it for less than what I'm already paying. And so doing a proper discovery, listening for where is the prospect, the person that I'm talking to, what are their problems? What are their challenges? What problems can I solve? And then you just show them how you can solve those problems with your package. Your program is like the vehicle that's going to get them out of pain and into the promised land, into their goal, their destination. So that's how we sell. And we break a lot of this stuff down in the Bulletproof Sales. We got scripts. There's actually a call recording there as well from a call that I did with someone. And you guys will hear this. If you join our program, you jump in here, you're going to hear that call recording. I talk maybe 3 minutes out of a 12-minute conversation. I'm not pitching. I'm not selling. I'm asking questions. And I'm just asking questions somewhat strategically to get together all the information I need. And I say, hey, look, yeah, based on what you told me, and she was in a nightmare situation, and a lot of EROs out there are in really bad situations, we were able to help her out immediately. And so it's very easy if you just really ask good questions, learn about your prospect, and qualify them. Either they're a fit or they're not a fit. If they are, cool, sell them. If they're not a good fit, don't bother selling them. They're not going to get any benefit out of it. So when you approach sales like that, where it's like, hey, I'm just trying to help people make a right decision in their business, sales now just becomes about having a good conversation with someone, helping someone out. Yes, you're still trying to get the sale, obviously, at the end of the day. If they are a good fit, now you want to do whatever possibly you can, because you know your program, your software is going to help them in the long run. So there's nothing wrong with asking for money, right? We always have to be asking for the sale at the end of the day. So from there, 7-day launch, right? If you've been following.
Now what?
Yeah. So I sold them. Now what? I've got my offer. I've started marketing. I'm talking to people. I'm selling them. Now what? That leads us into day 5 and day 6, which is onboarding. And then day 6 is fulfillment and retention. So day 5 is onboarding. Basically, you got someone sold. All right, sweet. Now what do I do? When you're selling software, one of the first things you have to do is set them up in the software, right? So we just walk through an onboarding process. It's really very simple. I think a lot of people just really overcomplicate this. All you have to do is basically send them a form to collect all of the information that you need to set them up in the software.
Yeah. And how do you find out that information?
That's it.
Just go and set up a dummy account.
Yeah, go set up a dummy account and write down every question that you have to fill in, and what are the options that you can select if it's a selection box, or if it's just a form entry, make it a form entry and just build your own form. That's literally all you have to do. It's just, what is the information that I have to put into the software? Okay, now I build my own form that I send to my customers so they fill that out. And now I just literally go and enter the data into the software.
Or
Done.
you can use the templates that we provide you in this training through Tax Nitro.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. And so again, what we do in the 7-day launch, it's like, we're going to break down the whys and the how-tos for all of the days that we've talked about, and the template, where it's like, hey, Here's what we need to do onboarding. Here's how we do it. We want to set up a form. We want to collect all the information. And then lesson 3 is, here's the form. Here's your form. It's already done, actually. So you don't have to do anything now anyways, because we also want to teach the theory, right? We don't just want to give tools and everything to people. And it's like giving someone a box of puzzles. Here you go. Here's all the pieces. They're like, okay, but what do I do now? It's like, oh, you got to put them together and they got to figure it out. We want to show them how the puzzle works and how the pieces fit together, and then give it to them already done, because now they know how it works and it's already put together. They're like, all right, cool. Now I can actually go and use it. So that's day 5, client onboarding. And then finally, day 6, fulfillment and retention. Fulfillment just means delivering the software, right? Now, again,
and anything else that you offer.
Exactly. I was going to say day 2, we're talking about offers. We're talking about any other trainings, resources, whatever else you want to sell in addition to your software. Now we got to just hand it over to them. So how do we do that? Fairly straightforward. If you're doing any training or anything like that, again, Tax Nitro has a training platform. So you can basically record your own training videos. You can upload any resources, any templates, and then you just grant them access to it so they can log into the training platform. They can watch the videos. They can download all the templates, tools, whatever you got for them, and then deliver the software, and that's it. Again, we do everything, a lot of the work for you guys. There's like software delivery email templates that are in there as well. So here's an email template that you can use to make a template and deliver the software credentials to your customers once they're set up. So that's a touch on fulfillment. On retention, I'll get a little bit into it. Basically, retention is, what can you do with your clients? What else can you show them? What other benefits can you give them long-term in your business? So I'm talking about years 2, 3, 4, 5. All of the hard work is done. Getting the customer is the hardest part of a service bureau. And it's fairly easy, but out of everything that you do, that is the most challenging part. Now that you've already done the hard work, retention is very important, because it's like, you don't want to lose out on that hard work. You want to keep someone using your software for as many years as possible. Now, that doesn't mean gatekeeping them, because at some point they're going to be pissed off and they're just going to leave. But retention is, how do I give them milestones? How do I give them different objectives for them to hit, where maybe I reduce fees over time, or I reduce the rev share if you're bringing in prepares? How do I give them a path to success over the years to come? How do I lay that out for them? And so that's a big part to retain customers. If they see that there's more and more opportunity with you, the longer they work with you and the better they grow their business, they're willing to stay. Just like we set a goal in day 1, right? If you can show them what that path looks like, now they see there's more opportunity and they're willing to stay and really commit long-term with your service bureau. So retention is a huge thing, because the worst scenario you want to be in is where you're replacing customers as fast as you're losing them, because you're losing all your customers year over year. So you have to go out and replace them with new customers every single year. That's not sustainable. You always have to be selling. As soon as you stop selling, you're basically dead in the water the next year. So how do we create long-term retention and long-term residual revenue in the service bureau? That's what we break down as well. Any other notes to add on that, Balls, on day 6?
No, pretty straight.
Cool. Do you want to talk about day 7, what we do in business and what we explain to them to do in business?
Yeah. So once you have a system going, so this is the challenge that happens a lot of times. If you do something, all right, cool. Hey, I got this marketing going. Awesome. I got a couple of clients. And then what like 95% or more of the people do, and we used to do this, and a lot of people do, is awesome. That worked. Now let me do something else. And that is the problem that we see people run into when they get something going and they're like, okay, that's cool. I made some money. And then they're like, all right, let me try something else, instead of repeating every single thing they just did and just getting better and better.
Just keep getting money. Yeah.
So I think the way this is laid out, it's like the very first lesson there, turning your business into a conveyor belt. That is the ideal scenario. How do you create a repetitive process where, hey, if I spend X amount of money on ads, or if I do this marketing strategy, I can turn this into X amount of phone calls. And because I am getting better at sales, those phone calls turn into X percentage of customer, and that increases over time. So if I can just keep doing this, and then guess what? If you're selling one software, at the most 2, but ideally 1, if you're selling one software, your fulfillment and all of that stays the same. You don't have to go figure shit out for every other software, and it just becomes a nightmare. So ideally, how do you set up that conveyor belt, that assembly line, where you have consistent marketing leads coming in, you have consistent appointments on the calendar, you have consistent sales conversations that turn into consistent sales, and then consistent fulfillment and repeatable processes that you can then hire for. So that's what we mean by rinse and repeat.
Yeah. And the big part on that is, which is what you nailed right at the end, because you mentioned that with the conveyor belt. If you have all these different softwares, now you have 5 variables because you're trying to sell 5 softwares thinking that's how you grow a big service bureau. And by the way, I'm sure we've said this on other episodes. Some of the biggest service bureaus in the industry in the past only sold one software. That's all they did. It was just one software. And they just turned their business into a conveyor belt. Every conversation is the same. Every onboarding is the same process. Fulfillment, like setting up the software, it's the same every single time. There's no variables. The reason why you want to do that, you want to strive for as little variables as possible, is because now you can build processes like how-tos, standard operating procedures in your business. So now you can bring in extra people. You can bring in a team. You can bring in a VA, someone remote who can basically be the data entry person, who can do all the setups. So now you don't have to worry about that. You can just focus on client acquisition, marketing, and sales. One of the most important parts of business is marketing and sales. Without customers, you're dead. So how do we free up some other time on the back end doing the minutia of just punching information into the software to set someone up, versus if you're doing this exact same process every single time, you can record that process, document it, train someone on it. Now it's off your hands. There you go. You just freed up time. I heard a good quote the other day. It was like, there is unlimited opportunities in life. We have unlimited opportunities, but we have a limit on time. We only have 24 hours in a day. So what are we doing with that time, and how do we maximize that time as much as possible? We scale. We need to put systems and put processes in place. That's what we talk about here in day 7. And we have a lot more stuff on that as well in our program, and like the actual core training, which we unlock afterwards. That's a big part of it, is going through and just really understanding A to Z in the 7-day launch, set some goals, create your offers, start marketing, get some sales systems down so you know how to actually sell and collect that money. Most important. And then onboarding. What are the next steps? Onboard them, fulfill, and that is your business. You're just going to rinse and repeat. You're going to keep doing this thing over and over again. Something, Baldy, you said this, sorry, before you jump in.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, you said this a while back, and I was like, that's a perfect way to explain it.
Business is boring.
Business is boring. When you get this up, you're doing the exact same. And it is. As entrepreneurs, like, we love the shiny new things because it's like new opportunity. And we just love that. But in order to scale to a 6-figure and 7-figure service bureau, you're just getting better at doing the exact same shit over and over again. And that's how you really grow a massive business.
Yeah, business is boring, right? You
Yep.
do the same shit over and over again.
Yep.
Now, for those of you guys who have made it to this point in this presentation, if you are an existing service bureau and you don't have shit like this to guide you, you should really probably come check out Service Bureau Accelerator.
Because there's a whole lot more stuff that we have.
There's a whole lot more. But we've seen some people, like, over the years, and what's happening more this year, I want to say, put air quotes in it, existing service bureaus, because sometimes they're not even set up with real service bureau deals, which that's a whole other conversation for another day. But will people come say, yeah, I'm selling software, and they have no clue what they're doing? So somebody just sold them a package, or they said, oh, let me just go here because it may be cheaper than Service Bureau Accelerator. Maybe they never heard of us, and now they're hearing about us, whatever the scenario is. But we see it all the time. They don't have the guidance. When support comes, I think talked about this in another episode, when the time for support comes and you have 20 EROs and there's bank enrollment issues, there's these issues, there's this stuff coming up, but your service bureau is too busy doing taxes to help you, probably in the wrong spot. If you're direct with the tax software, I won't mention names because apparently sometimes they watch these episodes and get mad when I talk shit about them. But if you're direct with the tax software and there's no damn way they're giving you any of this type of info, right? I don't care if you're getting your tax software from a software provider or a bank or wherever. They don't have this type of stuff. So if you really want to grow your service bureau, maybe you have branded software through somebody that's not really helping you, or maybe you have a service bureau deal and it's garbage. Come check us out. Yeah. There's the plug, servicebureauaccelerator.com. If you go through the process, you watch a webinar and you go through the process, put in one of the sections. I'm going to do this now. If anybody does, they'll be surprised. Put in one of the sections. I watched your podcast. I want to hop on a call with you personally, and I'll jump on a call with you personally.
There you go. Look at that. So invite for a one-on-one.
If you made it to 37 minutes of this podcast and you heard that part, go through our application process and put that
We will see it.
We will see it. We see every application. If you put, I watched the podcast episode where I was invited to a one-on-one call with me, put that in the thing, and I will personally call you.
There you go. Awesome. With that, again, all the notes to get on the webinar, servicebureauaccelerator.com. We'll have it in the show notes, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you guys are watching it. We'll have it down in the comments there, so you can just click the link, go register for one of our webinars, jump on, fill out an application, let him know you came for the webinar. You want to talk to Ball Deep, and he'll give you a call.
Yes, I will. All right. Awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.